Today, the Wisconsin Elections Commission orders an investigation into the Green Bay city clerk after duplicate ballots were issued in two separate cases. As we reported, the city of Green Bay sent duplicate absentee ballots to some voters in April and in June. Earlier this spring, the Republican Party of Wisconsin filed a complaint with the Wisconsin Elections Commission, accusing the Green Bay clerk's office of sending duplicate absentee ballots to 152 voters ahead of the spring election. Green Bay City Clerk Celestine Jeffreys called it a printing error and said she regrets the mistake. In continuing coverage, Taylor Zeebel explains what happens now. Taylor.
Jason, it's important to note that complaint you just mentioned specifically focuses on what happened in April. The commission was expected to discuss and possibly act on that, but instead decided to discuss both April and June errors. The investigation will determine if she or any city staff and contractors failed to comply with state law or abused their discretion in the April 2026 election or any other election. One commissioner making it very clear during the meeting she believes the commission cannot give proper direction to Jeffreys without knowing exactly how these oversights happened. Jeffreys is required to lay out a plan that guarantees voters cannot cast more than one ballot and explain how the duplicate ballots were sent by the end of this month. And by August 14th, she will have to share plans to ensure this does not happen again.
I want to know how it happened both times. I want to know how it happened the first time. We have some explanation on that. But again, I want to know the software. I want to know how, what they literally did to cause this to happen twice.
The city told us we would receive a statement from the mayor today, but we are still waiting to get that. I also reached out to Jeffreys and didn't hear back. Jason.